dude.
Hey, dude.
Hey, guys. Welcome to Dude That's Fucked Up. I'm Erin.
I'm Nicole.
How's everybody doing?
Hope everyone's chilling and safe from all the crazy hurricane garbage.
Yeah, sorry if you're going through some shit right now.
Or have gone through.
Yeah, we hope everybody's doing all right.
Yeah.
We love y'all.
I want to say, and people might not be caught up to this by the time they try and join the Facebook group, but we've been getting a lot of people wanting to join the Facebook group. And listen, for everyone's protection in the group so that we could keep it chill as fuck and a real fun time, we made questions. So now when you join the Facebook group, you have to answer a few questions. They're dumb. It's just like, what's your favorite thing, like saying from the show, blah, blah, blah. There's just 3 questions. Make sure you fill them out so we know you're like a real person and you want to be there and you didn't just like search the word fuck.
Yeah, because we've had some like young children, some older gentlemen that I don't think have ever listened to our podcast try to join the group. So
no, they're like probably like how to fuck hot Asian women or something. It's always like a white dude with a mullet, and I'm like, ew.
Yeah,
you don't belong here, sir. Maybe you do. I don't know, but you didn't answer the question, so how would I know?
Well, we are always on the lookout for the internet is a dangerous place.
It is, yeah.
And we're always on the lookout for fuckery. And there's a lot of fake accounts out there these days. So we're just, and it's a private group for a reason.
Yeah.
It's for hanging out, and we want everybody to feel like it's not just a free for all. So. Yeah.
My favorites are like when it's like, oh, so-and-so wants to join the group. And then I go look and it's like, account was created today at 1 p.m. I'm like, okay, how about no?
A member of 569 groups.
Yeah.
That's a red flag.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just if you're referring a person, like, because I think you can do that if you're a member of the group, encourage them to answer the questions. But I guess it's not like, if somebody that is in the group already is like,
oh, I see. Yeah. Letting they're like vouching for someone. So yeah. But also the questions are helpful for us because it helps us with content and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. We want to be the best we can be for you guys.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the Facebook group. I don't think we fucked anything up last week.
No, it was just people's gross sex stories. And I say gross lovingly because they were amazing. Just very detailed and real fun.
And we're still accepting them if you'd like. We can do a part 2.
Yeah.
If you've been so inspired by to remember your own personal weirdness,
we'll do them forever.
Yeah, we can do them forever. And you could also, like, we've mentioned this already, you can submit stuff through the website too. It's dtfupodcast.com. And you can just make up an email address if you want to be completely anonymous.
Yeah. You could probably type in NA or something at gmail.com or, you could just, fake a quick little.
It's a required field, but like, we're not, if it's something like super heinous, and you're like, I really don't want my mom to ever find out about this in any way, or a coworker, I don't know.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You can submit stuff that way, or you can just go ahead and do it straight to the source at dtfupodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah.
So, whatever you want.
We probably won't respond to it through the website unless, like, it's like a one-way communication unless you guys have a question or whatever. Like, we can respond to you because you provide your email, but if you are looking for a response, we respond to the emails that we get. So try it all out.
Yeah see what floats your boat.
Yeah.
And anyway, so yeah, that was it was a fun time last episode.
Oh, it was so fun.
I'm still laughing about all the things.
The episode before that, we talked about cadavers and like what happens when you donate your body after you've passed to science or to others through like organ donation and stuff. And we mentioned, it was very brief, but we mentioned the first successful face transplant, which happened a few years ago, I think in 2015. And we actually got an email from Alejandra, who we've heard from before.
Mm-hmm.
And we just wanted to, she made some great points. So she shared a story with us about how the man, Dave, who actually passed away and donated his face to this other man, Patrick, who was the recipient of it. She has friends who were friends with Dave. So she actually, you know, kind of ran in the same social circles as this man who, you know, like donated not just his face, which was amazing and a scientific breakthrough and like just one of the coolest things that's ever been done, and meant a lot to this other man, Patrick, and his family, but also donated his heart, I also think his liver and a kidney. So it was cool to hear from her. She just caveated one thing and said, please make sure to mention one, that, you know, everybody's aware that yes, you can check the box on your license or whatever. State by state, you could donate your organs if you pass away. You could be an organ donor and register. But there is also a national database. So like if, for instance, you die when you're in Alabama, but you're a resident of Florida, they won't harvest anything because they don't know you, and you're not. It's not under their state law. So if you're in the national database, though, they can look you up. They check the state first, and then they go to the national registry. So and I think you could register. You could look up the national database. You could Google it, the National Organ Donors Association or something like that, or database or whatever. That's not a great plug. But when I did that, you couldn't do it online. You could only register in your state. But actually, what you could do, and I've done this because I just checked it, if you have an iPhone, you can go into your health app, and when you fill out, like, who, you know, you fill out your medical ID information. So, like, if ever there's an emergency, medical professionals can check your phone. You can actually specify that you're an organ donor. So even if you're in another state, like, they know that you are cool with it. So definitely do that. Sign up with Donate Life, I think, is the association that Apple is connected to.
Cool.
Yeah. So
awesome. Good info.
The other thing she wanted us to say is wear a helmet if you are a bike rider or doing any activity.
Because that was how her friend of the person who died in order to provide the organs and the face transplant. He died in a bike accident, I believe.
Yeah, and he was a cyclist.
Yeah, and I live in a big city or big-ish city, and people getting into bike accidents are very common, and a lot of people have died recently. Just in the summertime, everybody's out riding their bike, obviously. So, and DC is becoming a more bike-friendly place. And I also used to work for an electric bike startup.
Yeah.
So I'm like very sensitive for sure to people being safe on bikes and, you know, people wearing their helmets. So definitely wear a helmet. Stay safe.
I also want to add that on a lighter note, I guess, from that episode, we did receive a piece of fan mail that was disappointment that we didn't sing "She's Got Jerry's old box eyes."
What is that? What song is that?
She's got Betty Davis eyes.
Oh, God. Nope.
It was just Pete. He's like, I totally thought you guys were gonna sing.
We got a piece of fan mail.
JK, Pete, we were in the car, and Pete was like, I can't believe you didn't go for she's got Jerry or buncha. And I was
damn it. Well, now we got it in. We got it in. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, thanks, Pete. Thanks, Allie. Definitely wear a helmet and register to donate.
To be a donor.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's all the biz that we got up front.
Yeah, do you have any fucked up things from this week?
No, I've been just so paying so much attention to all the hurricane stuff and making sure I'm donating still and paying attention to Harvey people still, and Irma is kind of taken over. So I don't know. That's all that I've been consumed with. I'm very concerned.
Yeah, it's scary.
It's really scary. We've been, we've been in situations where we've had to be evacuated. Well, you were away, I think, weren't you, at college during like the fires?
No, the first one in 2003, I was there. Yeah, but I was.
Oh, and also in the West, all the fires are going right now. Right. So I really empathize with people who are going through it right now. So yeah, just that's my only fucked upness. I think is I totally feel that weird uncertainty and that scary feeling.
Yeah,
of not knowing what's happening, and I don't know.
It's weird. I'm not anywhere near where any of the fires are happening right now. But I had a fucked up thing, not related, but I guess has to do with where I live. In California, we have high-speed chases. It's like it's always a televised event. People get very excited about it. You know, it's like something that's fun for the whole family. If you have a television set in your office, generally someone will turn to it and everybody will gather around and watch almost
it's a
nothing
phenomenon.
happen.
Yeah.
Well, I was on the 405 the other day, and like a lady cop in a car pulled up I was in like the fast lane, and then she was in the carpool lane, and she kind of like parked right there, and I wasn't sure what to do. They didn't do that thing where they weave in front of traffic
like swerve?
To like slow you down. Yeah, no, she just like stopped, and I was like, okay, so everybody started getting, and I was like the first car. Yeah, so I just like went around and I kept moving, and then I like saw a helicopter up in the sky, and I was like, oh, like it looks like a police helicopter. It's not like a traffic one. And then I hear or I don't remember if I heard sirens or I just like saw a bunch in my rearview mirror. But anyway, here it comes. Oh yeah, I heard the sirens. Here it comes, like a bunch of cop cars following a little Scion with a lady driving it. And
oh my God.
And I'm in the fast lane and she's in the carpool lane. So she's like literally right next to me. And she had to have been going like 40 miles an hour. It was not even fast. Like she's just like
bitch, you're on the 405.
Yeah. It was rush hour too. So I'm like, where does she think she's going? Like, I don't understand. So anyway, I just like felt it all coming and I saw it in my rearview mirror and I like turned and I
was
just,
it like you're in a movie?
Yeah, I was like slow motion turned to the side and it's just like this lady driving her little Kia Scion, or whatever what's like the square one? Kia Soul.
Kia Soul,
yeah. She was like in a little white Kia Soul. And then like 3 black cop cars and 2 white cop cars were following her and they were just like going, like chilling along.
Chilling?
Yeah, and I was like, what? How weird.
Oh,
but
my God. Oh.
I think maybe she had a mental break or something. Because she didn't, like, it ended peacefully and like she got out of the car and she was dressed really nice and.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, but it ended well.
Man.
Yeah.
Well, thank God. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad everybody got out of that one okay.
Yeah.
Oh, have you seen that video of that chick stealing a cop car?
No.
Oh my God, it's insane. I'll post it in the Facebook group.
Oh, what? Oh, I guess I could just watch it.
She gets handcuffed and she's put in the back of a cop car and they're like searching her car and like kind of, you know, doing whatever. So there's like no cops in the car. She gets out of her handcuffs. She crawls over the like, I don't know how she gets over it, like the little like divider of the front seat and the back seat.
Oh.
Crawls over that and steals the cop car. And there's like dash cam footage of her taking off from another cop car and just going. And she like is balls to the wall. Like it's insane.
Do you know how it ends?
She crashes.
Oh, okay.
Like you see them chasing her and she's like flying and she's like goes for like a few miles and then she like loses control of the car and then there's also a dash cam in the obviously in that car. So they have all these like vantage points. It's crazy.
It's like an Academy Award-winning directed police video.
It was pretty good. It's great. Highly recommend.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's all the fucked up personal stuff. I guess.
I don't think we have a segue into our topic this week.
No, I think we should just get right into it.
Yeah.
Before we do that, I'm gonna pour myself a glass of wine.
Ooh, nice.
But I have to use my queefer. I call it a queefer, an aerator.
Oh yeah, I hear it. It sounds like very wet queefs.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Disgusting.
Yeah. So delicious.
Our friend Sandra said she wants us to do an episode on queefs, and I was like, I don't know how we'd stretch that into an episode, but girl, I'm gonna try.
Yeah, we could do queefs from around the world.
What does a queef sound like in France?
A queef? I don't know.
What does
like? It has like the like accent aigu over over the e. Queef.
What does a queef sound like down south in Southern America?
Southern America, South.
No, not South America. Like the south of North
South.
America.
Queef.
What does a queef sound like in Minnesota?
Queef.
Quiff. What does a queef sound like in German?
Queef. Just like very short and clipped and yelly. Sorry, anybody from Germany.
Oh my god, that was so good.
Queefenstein.
Mein queef.
Mein queef. Oh, no. So bad.
Okay, then it'd be Das Queef.
Das Queef. I think we could do a full episode.
Okay.
Of us just saying queefs from around the world. Oh my god.
That concept is so funny. Okay.
What do you think about a queef from Ireland? Like the one we're about to talk about.
Quiff.
A quiff. I don't know. Okay, so we're talking about Typhoid Mary, who is from Ireland.
Uh-huh.
She immigrated to New York, like many Irish people did.
Yeah.
In the late 1800s, I suppose, or maybe the mid 1800s.
Yeah. Typhoid Mary is like a nickname she got. And I think we'll talk about like who she actually was, which her name was Mary Mallon. But let's set the scene and talk a little bit about the early 1900s in New York City.
It was a shithole.
It was like, you think it's gross now. Like when I lived in New York, I was like, you know, I liked it and I love New York. And of course, it's like one of the greatest cities in the world. But it smells like hot garbage, especially this time of year. And
oh my God.
There's people doing gross, nasty ass things on the subway right next to you. Mm-hmm. And it's just, there's a lot of people living there, but it was worse in the early 1900s.
I mean, there was no, in the early 1900s, it was just like people were piling into the city.
Yep.
They were, you know, coming from all over the place.
Yeah.
Bringing their own just gross diseases.
Yeah.
And not to say that they're gross people. It's just like the way it was when you're traveling long distances and you're
dirt poor.
You're dirt poor and you're in poor health.
Yeah.
And so everything just kind of like mutates and becomes really gnarly when you kind of mix it all up in the belly of a freighter ship. Ugh. So yeah, these people like needed to get the fuck out of wherever they were.
Yeah.
Like especially in Ireland, it was like the potato famine.
Yep.
All kinds of crazy stuff is happening. Like Jewish people needed to get the fuck out of wherever they were because shit was going down already. So there's just like people coming from all over, and it's just people on top of people, and they're building very substandard housing to accommodate all the people that are coming in. And it was hard. It was hard living.
Yeah. Well, they were working very hard too. And, like it was a land of opportunity. So people were coming here in droves, and they would send one family member over, a few family members, and then more would come and more would come. And they needed a place to stay. And this is where the slumlord was born, which is a very fun, like, it's like a kind of a funny, fun concept, maybe in a way, like a slumlord. Like, I don't know. It just is.
It sounds gross and like silly, but it's terrible.
It's horrible because it was these asshole building owners who were rich people that eventually started moving outside of the city because it was so disgusting. And they would buy tenements in mostly down near Little Italy, which is like south of Soho, or like just below Soho in New York City, or like adjacent to it. And they would buy these buildings, and then they would overcharge people who were overworked, and there was no running water. They didn't have toilets in these buildings
just
yet.
Awful.
Well, they kind of had like rooms that were like toilets, and eventually they installed toilets, but there was no running water or sewage system. So like they would literally flush, and the shit would just go out onto the street.
Into like a like gutter that was like above ground. Oh. Yeah. The sanitary system was not good. And I truly believe the reason why we think New York is so gross is because we're still trying to come back from that time. We're like still cleaning up all that shit.
Okay.
Because it was a rough time, and these poor people were just like people who, like the rich white people, were just treating all these immigrants like absolute garbage, like they were subhuman. So
yeah,
and that's why they felt okay with like putting these people in these like awful conditions and just kind of like meh, whatever.
Yeah, and like,
and making money off of them.
Yeah, so they did
in the tenement houses.
And these families, like, there would be, like, dozens of people living in a one-family apartment. Some of them even worked out of their apartments. They had their animals living with them. It was basically, like, all of these spaces were just breeding grounds for disease. And I thought there was something really gross, but I want to know what you would call this. Because, so they would flush their toilets out into the street. Some lived with their animals, and they had animal excrement and like just like gross things, like a butcher would maybe just like throw his like old pieces of
like offal into the
into the curb. Like there was just a mixture of shit and gross stuff and piss and probably like
just sludge.
Okay, it was sludge. And then in the winter it would freeze.
Oh, God.
So it would create like this thick layer, like like a foot layer of frozen, like
crust.
What would you call that though? It has a real name.
Schmegma. Is that not it? Oh,
that's a real thing.
I know. Isn't that stuff that's like in your vagina?
Oh, I thought it was dick cheese.
It's like the same thing.
Oh.
It's like dick cheese, vag cheese. It's just like a brie, I might vomit. Sorry.
I don't know, but what you would call
What's the real word?
Corporation pudding.
Oh my God.
Ew. Because it would like thaw out, and it would have like, I'm sure it got pudding from the consistency because it was like gelatinous.
Oh yeah, I want to make a Bill Cosby joke so bad, but I don't even know.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Garbage.
I think you've said enough.
Yeah, I think I have.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I said smegma too many times. That's a new one, a new vocabulary word for all you listeners out there.
Schmegma.
Schmegma.
Really, it was fucking disgusting. And as you can imagine, people were real ill because you're just like walking through shit sludge. You know, when spring comes around, everybody's like, cool. Or like summer comes around, no one looked forward to these New York summers. Not a person. Because it reeked and you were trudging through. Is that the word? Trudging through
slipping and sliding
shit sludge on your way to your 14-hour job at the laundromat.
Not even a laundromat because it was an automatic.
True. Yeah, it was a laundra.
It was a laund. The laundry.
Yeah, it was just the laundry.
Where you get steamy and get chemical burns.
Oh.
Awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just hell on earth. These people it's so sad. And so total breeding ground for disease. All kinds of stuff's running around. One of the disease du jours that was like really popping was cholera was big. And this is like a time when like Spanish influenza and all that and people were actually really still afraid that the plague was going to come back because it was so gross. Yeah, so another huge thing that popped up was typhoid fever. And typhoid fever is like it's like a form of salmonella, basically. It's a bacterial illness that is like you have flu-like symptoms, and it can result in death, though.
Yeah. It also, so it gets really big. Like this disease or infection or whatever, fever, it gets really big, and the symptoms are a little bit like kind of all over the place. So and
they're like kind of general. They're not like super specific, especially because it kind of moves slow, I guess.
Yeah, and they're
like
spread
it has
out
like
through
a
time.
longer. Right. Yeah.
So, it was about like a 3-week illness, I guess. Maybe it lasted a little bit longer, depending on if you were healthy or whatever. But in week 1, you get like a little bit of a fever and maybe some abdominal cramping. Like 1 in 4 people would get a bloody nose, and that's how you could tell, like, if you had those symptoms early on, you had it. But most people just had a fever or abdominal cramping, like, in the beginning.
Yeah.
So
and that could be like minor or major.
Yeah, yeah. And you don't know, like, maybe you have a little bit.
That's like really like, that could be like
anything,
any number of like illnesses.
Yeah.
So it's hard to identify.
And then in the 2nd week, the fever worsens, the patient becomes delirious, blood clots form under the skin, and the abdomen becomes distended. So, like, shit's happening.
Yeah, you're like, well, that's not just a stomach ache.
Yeah. Oh, why is my gut all big?
Ugh.
And then week 3, you could get inflammation of the brain, intestinal hemorrhaging. Overall, the death rate, it's between, like, 10 and 30% of people would die. I think
it probably depends on the age range and like there's like probably a lot of factors. Yeah.
Probably in New York City, probably more like 30% because things were gross.
And again, this like goes back to like what we mentioned when we covered the bubonic plague, is that like there were not good records because again, nobody gives a fuck about poor people.
Right.
And nobody's like really like, I mean, there's health inspectors that are out and about, which we'll get to a little bit later, but like they're overwhelmed and they can't take really good records of like how it's affecting people. Like the death rates are like kind of all over the place. Like I said, if you're like old or really young, this is probably going to get you more than if you're like a middle-aged person, probably.
Yeah.
And that's why like the death rate is like kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
I think is what it sounds like. And
I think like you just said, it was poor people. So there wasn't, the people who lived in these tenements in the slums were getting sick and stuff. Nobody really paid attention. But there was like a high profile family that was very wealthy, the Warren family. And they they were like at their vacation home in Oyster Bay, upstate New York. You may have had the Sauvignon Blanc. It's pretty good from there.
Dude, that's a different Oyster Bay.
Oh.
That's in Marlborough in New Zealand.
Oh, okay. I wondered because most Sauvignon Blanc comes from down under.
Yeah. And there's an Oyster Bay in New Zealand.
Oh, there is?
Yeah.
Well, tomato.
Yeah, whatever. Long Island Oyster Bay.
Yeah. Oh, Sauvignon Blanc.
Sauvignon Blanc.
So this family they were super wealthy, and it was in 1906, and it was summertime, and there was 11 people sharing a household, and 6 of 11 people were diagnosed with typhoid fever, and they were like, "What the fuck is going on? We need someone to come help us figure this out." They had like health inspectors come out and like look at their house and be like, it's clean. Like, I don't know where you guys are contracting this from. What's going on?
They were like really shook because it's like, this is a poor people's disease. Why are we, these rich people, getting sick? Like, this is so strange.
Yeah. So they called on this guy, George Soper. And he was a freelance sanitation engineer, and he came out and he was like assessing the situation.
Yeah, he was kind of specialist in all these kind of things, and he dealt with typhoid cases before, so he recognized the symptoms and was like, "Yep, this is what you got."
Yeah.
And so he's trying to figure out where it came from, because it was kind of concerning that so many people had gotten sick so quickly, and but because it was like kind of an isolated incident, he was able to kind of dig into it a little bit.
He was really the only guy who was doing this sort of work. So
right, and he was like a detective.
Yeah,
he was
like
like
a
very thorough person and cared a lot about his job.
Yeah. And he,
it seems like.
Yeah. And he, so when he was talking to them, he was like, well, it's kind of like when you go see a doctor if you're having symptoms that are kind of like, oh, I've had like this rash for a while or whatever. And they're like, okay, well, what changed? You kind of have to backtrack, right? It's like,
right. You just have to retrace the steps of like what the person did.
Yeah.
Like, cause they like, what if they had gone into town, like while they're on vacation and, did X, Y, and Z. Like, he has to just like retrace all the steps of everybody.
Yeah.
So he really gets into it and he digs in and he figures out that their cook, Mary Mallon, who was hired about 3 weeks before the family got sick, had left once the symptoms popped up. And so he was like, that's strange.
Yeah.
But she wasn't there for him to question. And so as he's like looking into this, he gets word of another active outbreak in the city on Park Avenue.
Yeah.
Park Avenue, very swanky, very
posh,
Tony.
Very fancy.
Yeah. And so he digs into that, finds out that their master chef was also Mary Mallon.
Yeah. So, there would have been no way for him to connect these two. It was almost like a fate type thing because...
Yeah, it just so happened that because the Warren family called on him to help investigate how they got sick, because they were very, like, confused and scared.
Yeah.
And really just wanted to get to the bottom of it. They hired him, and he's like, this is weird. You're very rich people. How could this be?
Yeah.
And then as he's doing that and finds out that the cook had left 3 weeks prior, another case pops up. So it just all was very coincidental.
Yeah.
So by this time, I don't know how many families she'd infected. I feel like it was like around maybe 8 or 9 families.
Yeah, that sounds right. And
like including all these people, and I think I read of the 9 families, members from 8 of those families had been infected to some degree.
Well, and then it's kind of weird that she was like infecting people and then leaving, but really if everyone in the family's sick or a majority, no one's probably eating or
like they're like people are getting dismissed, or maybe, I don't know.
Because I was maybe like, what? She doesn't, because at this point, she doesn't know it's her, by the way.
No, she has no idea.
We should throw that out there, because she didn't ever show any symptoms. So, she's probably being excused from these jobs, and she doesn't know what's going on. I think someone who maybe had it together upstairs would start to think, you know those friends where, like, they're like, oh no, like, I'm never in the drama, like, I hate drama, I'm not, and yet, somehow, every time there's, like, something dramatic happening, they're always involved. It's like, take a step back, use deductive reasoning.
Who's the common denominator here?
Yeah, use deductive reasoning, let's figure out what's the problem. It's always you. But it was like that type of thing where she just was, like, always there, but, like, she never got sick. And so George Soper was cool, and he like connected the two things, because he's like, oh, Irish cook fits the description. This new family has an Irish cook. They're getting sick. I'm going to look into this lady's history. And
they're both named Mary. This is strange.
Yeah, they're both named Mary. They're Irish immigrants. They're youngish. And
as it turns out, they're one and the same.
Yeah, because he was able to get 5 years of Mary's employment. And, yeah, he realized that in all the places where she worked and people got sick, she had been the cook there. So,
yeah. It's all fallen into place.
Yeah. So he confronted her about it.
Yeah, he did. He, like, went after her. He was like, and I think she knew he was, like, gonna start bugging her, because, like, word probably got around town, like, oh, this fella's looking for you.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, what? So she was, like, hip to the dude.
Yeah.
Looking for her. So she's like, no, I don't want to talk to this guy. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I'm not sick. Like, leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah. But he's like, no, girl, like, just listen.
Listen, let me just get a little bit of your poop and your pee.
Yeah, I just need your doo-doo and your pee-pee, maybe a little blood.
Yeah,
it's not going to hurt. It's going to feel good.
If anybody asked that of you, like, you'd be like, fuck off.
Yeah. Ew. Yeah.
I'm healthy. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Like, so.
Yeah.
He finally does confront her.
Yeah.
At a house where she was working, and she was like, fuck off, and, like, came after him with a big fork.
She was like fuck off.
Fuck off. Yeah.
Fork off.
Fork off. Yeah. She was not well pleased.
No.
That he was coming to her place of business and knocking the corn dog out of her mouth and being like, lady, you got some doo-doo on your hands and you're getting people sick.
Yeah.
And so she was like, literally came after him with, like, a big meat fork and was like, leave me the fuck alone. And there was a fight, a flight, and a search, another fight, and then she was, like, forced into custody, basically.
Yeah. That's sad.
Yeah, it is sad. Because she was scared.
She was scared.
And didn't know what the fuck was going on. She's a big dummy.
She's, like dense overall, I would say. And we're, like, making it seem like, oh, it was, like, 1 or 2 times that they chatted. No, he was, like, borderline harassing her. But he was, like, a public official, and she was not cooperating. And he was like, listen, lady, you're making... We think we haven't proved it. We think you're making all of these people sick. Someone has died from this.
And at the time too, every immigrant was treated like shit. Like,
yeah.
So it was, like, a lot of discrimination, and so she
That's
probably
true.
Was, like, super defensive.
Yeah.
Like, there, I don't know. The more I think about this, like, in the time, it was, like, probably a very gnarly situation, and not, like, I don't know. Like, everybody was, like, had their back up a lot.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
Yeah.
So she finally, I mean, she tried to escape, but she got placed under arrest, and she was basically, like, taken to this quarantine place called North Brother Island. And this is 1907.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a year after the Warrens' initial investigation, I think.
Yeah.
And so she's on this island, and they finally like are trying to like get her to get the poop and the pee from her so they could test her and like conclusively like figure out what the fuck's going on. Get the poo-poo and the pee-pee.
Yeah.
So the New York City Health Department just pretty much forced her into this bungalow. It's like on a 16-acre island. It's off the Bronx shoreline, and she only had a fox terrier as a companion. So at least she had a dog. I mean, that's kind of chill. But yeah, she was a prisoner. They tested all of her poop and her pee. They offered to remove her gallbladder. I don't know.
Oh, because the salmonella, whatever the scientific
it affects
name,
your gallbladder.
It lives in there. So by this time they're suspecting she's like a carrier, and they're like, but she's like, I've never been sick. I don't have these symptoms. It's not me. It's not me. And they're like, right, but you just might not be. You know, you might have an antibody in your system. You it's not making you sick, but we need to do these tests. They did hundreds of tests over the course of her lifetime, and sometimes they'd show up positive, sometimes they wouldn't, but the test they did on North Brother Island definitely came up positive, and they were able to see that this bacteria lived in your gallbladder, or it lived in her gallbladder, and she was determined to be asymptomatic as a typhoid carrier. But then comes the question of how the bacteria was getting transmitted. And
because this kind of bacteria is like, salmonella is like the closest, like, we know modern day salmonella is like carried on like produce and stuff like that. Yeah. So people can still get sick from this. So
I was just going to say the easiest way to explain how this gets transmitted is ATM.
Ass to mouth.
Yeah. Or I would also like to say humid centipede.
Yes.
Human centipede, which is just a more elegant way of saying ass to mouth. Because what was happening was she was a cook in these people's houses. She would make a doo-doo at some point during her day, and then she'd get back to work, and not a hand was washed.
She did not believe, many people did not believe in, like, what we now know is personal hygiene.
Yeah.
And how it relates to disease. Like, people didn't get what germs were. This is not, like, a common knowledge thing. Like, doctors were just figuring this out.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had poor hygiene. Nobody thought this was an important thing to do. Like, nobody thought like washing your hands, even when you wash your hands without soap, like it's still doing something, kind of,
right?
But
it might be rinsing away a little bit of it.
But you should wash your hands with soap and water for like at least 30 seconds.
Yeah, and that's why these signs are in the bathrooms of restaurants.
Yeah, they're not there for just fun.
No.
Like
no, I don't want to eat your doo-doo, but most of all, I don't want to get sick.
Like, there's a reason, like, human beings don't eat shit. Because there's diseases in it that we can't process.
Yeah.
Dogs eat their shit sometimes.
Yeah, they eat
but they're
other people's shit. Dogs eat their own shit. My dog used to eat my cat's shit sometimes.
Oh, my dad called them because they'd get in like the litter box and they'd like have a crust of like cat litter on them. He called them kitty rocas, like almond roca. So I've never been able to eat almond roca because.
Oh no! I hope that didn't just ruin almond roca for me. I love almond roca.
I think you'll be fine.
Yeah,
I know. I got over it. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So.
That's funny.
So she was like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about washing your hands. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
But at the same time, even if you don't wash your hands with this particular bacteria, cooking food will usually kill it.
Yeah.
So if you're handling food and you have this doo-doo on your hands, like poop particles, and you cook the food, it'll kill the bacteria in most cases.
Yeah.
But what she was doing, her specialty was peach ice cream.
Ew.
And she was handling raw peaches and like dicing them up and putting them into the cream and making the ice cream.
And she was also handling her nether regions.
And and this is how this shit happens. So that's how he found out, though, also, like, how he solidified his argument that it was her, because that was, like, her specialty. Like, all the things are in very, very, all the cards are laid out. Like, all the households she's worked in have been sick, except for one dodged a bullet, I think. She admits to not having good hygiene. And then the main point is that she makes peach ice cream, and that's like a perfect carrier for the poop particles.
Yeah, we learned earlier that the common pudding, what was it? Something pudding.
Pedestrian pudding. Yeah, I don't know. No.
Pedestrian.
I like that better. Why didn't they name that?
Corporation pudding. We learned that as it thaws out.
Get some alliteration in there.
Yeah. We learned that as it thaws out, it's not good. The smell comes back. The bacteria comes back. Same with ice cream. As you eat it and it thaws out in your belly.
Ugh. Woof.
All the doo-doo comes.
Oh, it's all coming full circle.
Anyway.
Yeah, so she tried to... She was so convinced that she did not have it, she tried to sue.
Which
New York
she didn't have symptoms, so she didn't have it as far as she's concerned. But science says otherwise.
Yeah, but fake news. Yeah. In her mind.
Right. Ugh.
So yeah, she tried to sue the New York City Health Department.
Yeah.
Or maybe him personally, I don't know. But she lost.
Yeah.
And this is a juicy tidbit. It's rumored that William Randolph Hearst paid her legal fees.
Tanya's Pop Pop?
Tanya's Pop Pop. That's right.
Oh my God. That's
cute. But that's just a rumor.
Yeah.
So that might not be true, but because he was involved in like yellow journalism, and he was like always like looking for the scandal of the day.
Yeah.
He was always like interested in these big cases, and so he you know what I mean?
That makes sense.
He probably blew this story out of proportion in some ways, and felt bad about it. So that's a theory.
Yeah,
so maybe not true. Yeah.
So she lost, and she was still kind of like incarcerated, I guess, on North Brother Island. And I think the regime changed. So someone else came on as like the head of the health commission in New York City. And finally,
he felt bad for her.
He felt bad, and Soper kind of felt bad because they weren't really like learning much more. They knew she was infected, but they were like, we can't really, it feels wrong to keep her here. I don't know. So they were like, listen, you can leave here, but you know what? Maybe don't cook for people anymore. Maybe, to get a different job. Wash your hands. But they didn't even say that because she's too dense. She wouldn't follow directions, probably.
I read some of her letters, and she had utter disdain for the any kind of health professional.
Ew,
so
yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, her experience was pretty traumatic. So, but
I guess
I digress.
But also, like, just know that's the thing, though. When people are that dumb, they don't know that they're that dumb. But
sure,
that's what I hate, like brazen dumb people, or like really overly confident dumb people.
Dumb people.
It's like, oh, shut up. But they were like, look, you can leave, just get a different job. So she goes and works at not a laundromat. It was just a laundry place because there was no.
Yeah, she becomes a laundress.
Yeah, she's a laundress.
And laundry houses are famous for just being grueling, and you don't get paid shit because literally you don't have to have any skill to do this job. You just have to be a body moving and picking up heavy things, and you have to be sturdy, I guess. And she was a sturdy person.
A laundress sounds like a really like fancy name. I'm a laundress.
There is a really fancy line of like laundry like detergent called the Laundress.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like cleaning supplies. It's like fucking expensive. How ridiculous. I've bought it before. So. It smells really good. But yeah, she's like, fuck this. I don't want to do this shitty ass job. Like, I'm making half the amount of money I did when I was a cook. And being a cook is the only thing she knows.
And she was good at it, I think.
And she's good at it. Apparently. All these like swanky people hired her.
Yeah.
So yeah, but she gets released and she goes back to being a cook. She's basically on probation. And they're telling her, do not do this thing.
Yeah. And
after a while, she's like, but I think I'm going to. She changes her name. They lose track of her. And she goes back to cooking.
Her alias was Mary Brown. It's like it's not an exact fun little nod to the fact that she like poisoned people with her feces.
Poop.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's, like, close. I feel like she could have done better.
It's like she's rimming a little bit. I don't know.
It's just right there on the rim.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
So she's downtown Mary Brown. And she goes back to work. And she's doing her thing. I think she goes back to work for like a bunch of different families. Luckily, nobody gets sick. But in 1915, an outbreak of typhoid fever at Manhattan's Sloan Maternity Hospital struck 25 workers and killed 2 people.
Yeah.
So she's working at a hospital, a maternity hospital, no less.
Oh, dumb bitch.
I swear to God.
It's just so rude.
It's dangerous.
Like, at least before she was just infecting, like, singular families. Like, now she's working in a fucking hospital?
Yeah, where you're interacting with, like, 10 times as many people.
Yeah.
So, yeah, she infects 25 people and 2 of them died. And obviously it's traced back to her. The staff had this is where it came from, I guess, is the staff had nicknamed her Typhoid Mary. And they didn't realize that it was actually she was the OG. It was actually Mary Mallon because she changed her name to Mary Brown.
Oh my gosh.
So she kept her first name though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so since she'd been
they should have called her Typhoid Tanya.
Typhoid Tanya.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Alliteration.
I guess she had worked in hotels and restaurants and other institutions and not just like for families. But luckily, she hadn't infected more people.
When they lost track of her. She had various aliases.
But, who knows? Maybe she did infect more people. But so the only... You know what I mean? Yeah. She like was out there and doing her thing. And she might have infected more people. But this is where she gets caught, is at the maternity hospital.
Well, you mentioned earlier too, like the records weren't great, and it's like especially during that point of her life because she changed her name. But it was the exact same pattern that had happened initially, where she would show up, she'd start cooking for these families, people would get sick, they wouldn't need her services anymore, she'd leave. Like, which at that point, after you've already been through the experience of living on North Brother Island and you've been told your health habits are poor, this is what happens when you cook for people, you need to take care of that, like, either don't cook or you need to step up your hygiene game. And she's like, no, like, you don't know. And then she leaves and it's happening again. Like, you have to recognize a pattern.
Right, but I think, too, at the end of the day, she's looking out for number one. She's not married. She doesn't have anybody to help her. Like, she's on her own.
Yeah.
Like, she has to survive.
Yeah.
So, and these are hard times.
But
like,
wash your goddamn hands then. Like, there's one thing that's happening. Use toilet paper instead of your fucking raw ham fist. And then
I think she was using a Sears catalog, I mean.
I think, you know what? Just fucking squatty potty that shit, pinch it off. Don't even wipe if you're infecting people. Just have a stinky asshole until you can shower again. It's not that hard.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, she ended up getting caught after that. And they put her back on North Brother Island.
Yeah.
And she spent the remainder of her life there, confined to the island. She spent 23 years there, which is how much longer she lived after getting caught for the second time.
Yeah. I think she eventually had a stroke and died from like complications of that.
Yeah. She in total was responsible for, that they know of, for 53 cases of typhoid.
Yeah.
That could be directly traced to her, and 3 deaths out of all those cases. But like we said, there's probably a lot more people infected.
Yeah.
And even though it's rare to be an asymptomatic carrier like she was, there's definitely hundreds of people with typhoid fever or just typhoid carriers walking around, living life free as a bird.
Yeah.
While she was basically like relegated to this island, like a leper, because she fucked up and just insisted upon still cooking and willfully ignoring doctors' warnings, giving fake names, and generally menacing the public.
Yeah.
So, man, I'm of two minds about her. I think she definitely was just like a victim of the times, and like there was no support there. There was no like no education in a way that was like meaningful.
Yeah.
Or like we please do not infect more people. Like the way people explain things that were well over people's heads back then was just really condescending, I'm sure. And you know, she was uneducated and just needed to survive, so she was doing what she needed to do. But at the same time, if you have any indication that you might have like caused something horrible to happen to somebody, I even having a slight hint of that, I would feel terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
If they were like you being out in public causes something to happen, like, or like even if it was like something really silly, like
but here's the thing, she could have existed out in the world as long as she didn't fucking handle food that were going into people's mouths. She could have, but that's the thing. That's why it's hard, because she literally had no other skills. She had no other way of supporting herself. Yeah. And being a laundress was not going to support her. She was not going to be like, it was hard enough being a cook and living on those wages, but that was like, she was making decent money from that, and that was what she was good at and what she liked. So,
well, and I
don't know.
I read that like it probably cost them more money to like keep her at this, you know, on North Brother Island and pay for all of the, you know, security and her meals and whatever. Like they could have just given her a stipend and said, please don't work, and kept an eye on her and like let her live her life, you know, without being a cook, or like done something. But yeah, it just, I don't know, it's hard because after she like left and then went back to doing it again, it's like, well, now you're knowingly, whether you choose to believe that you're a carrier or not, you are, and you knowingly now are infecting people. Like, you know, you carry this and it's gonna happen. I don't know, it's kind of,
it's a moral dilemma for sure. And like there's reasons why we have to do things the way we do. There's a reason we have a health department that like regulates this shit. And there's a reason why, you know, because of people like this who are willfully ignorant and put other people in danger despite their personal best wishes. And you know, she was only operating with what she had, but I don't know, she was given new information, man. She didn't act right.
No,
so.
she acted crazy. She acted like a damn fool.
But
yeah,
that's the story of Mary Mallon, aka Typhoid Mary.
I'd always heard it, but I'd always heard the phrase, but I didn't ever know the story. So it was very interesting. Not a crazy long or involved thing. Just kind of interesting.
It's an interesting narrative too of just like how
they piece it together.
Primitive.
Oh.
Yeah, how primitive like the knowledge of like how things spread was. It was just like not a thing.
Yeah.
I think there's a really good episode of The Nick.
Oh yeah, I heard
about it.
Yeah.
Like kind of loosely based on it. It's really good. That's
cool.
a good show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in the first season, I heard.
Yeah, it's in the first season. It's good.
I watched a video. I think it might have been on Vimeo, or maybe it was YouTube, but it was all about like dirty cities, and it was about New York City, and that's how I like heard. That's how like I kind of came to understand like how dirty New York City was. But I've always been fascinated with like the immigration during that time period to Ellis Island and stuff. I had family come through there, and it's also interesting to me. And then like just how sad it was, and then there's like all the bosses or Boss Tweed and all the things that started happening with like
all the politics
before unions and stuff. It's very interesting.
All the gangs of New York.
Yeah. Oh, I should watch that movie. I've never seen it.
It's really good.
Yeah. I didn't like Cameron Diaz's hair in it, and I just never watched it.
Cameron Diaz is like distractingly bad in it. I mean, she's fine. It's like okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah, I know.
He's terrifying.
Maybe I'll watch it.
Yeah.
All right.
Watch it. It's great. All right. Yeah, that's all I got.
Yeah.
Follow us on social medias.
Yeah.
At DTFU Podcast on all the things. Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Go to the new website, dtfupodcast.com.
Yeah.
Join the private Facebook group if you are so inclined, if you're down with the clown.
Till you're dead in the ground.
Till you're dead in the ground. Yeah. We love you guys.
Love you.
Stay safe. Don't let Mother Nature fuck your shit up.
Yeah, all our Texas friends, hope things are going well for you. All our Florida friends, be safe. Hopefully it's all over soon.
All of our Oregon, Montana, California people, get the fuck out. If you're told to evacuate and you are able to, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Don't fuck around. It's like make it the best of it if you can.
Be excellent to each other.
Be excellent to each other.
Help a dude out.
Help a dude out. Be a donor.
Yep. Oh, good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, guys. All right. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye.